Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about I'm Still Here, or Ainda Estou Aqui, written and directed by Walter Salles. Salles was quite a leading figure in sort of the resurrection of Brazilian cinema in the mid-90s, and ever since then he's been kind of lauded as one of the greats of the Brazilian film industry. And this new film of his, I'm Still Here, is making quite the international splash as well. Obviously, with the Academy Awards right around the corner, there is a lot of buzz about this film as it's the first Brazilian film to be nominated for both Best Picture and Best International Feature. The film is based on a 2015 memoir written by Marcelo Rubens Paiva, who is the son of a former congressman in Brazil who was disappeared by the Brazilian army during their military dictatorship. And in particular, Marcelo talks a lot about the impact that this disappearance had on his family and especially his mother. And I think that this translates quite well into a film setting because it gives a lot of sort of opportunity to explore sort of the more human impacts of life under a dictatorship. As the film sort of centers on Marcelo's mother, Eunice, and sort of her dealing with the aftermath of the disappearance, a lot of the weight of the film's success kind of lies on the shoulders of Fernanda Torres, who plays Eunice Paiva. Of course, there's a lot more to talk about here, but I think the factor that contributes most to its success is her very disquieting performance. Torres is not given an easy task here, not only because she has to play, a real person in a real situation in sort of a very turbulent time in Brazil's history, but also because Eunice Paiva herself is dealing with sort of battling these conflicting emotional responses as she tries to navigate how to relocate her husband. I think she does a really great job in sort of portraying the difficulty that she finds herself as she kind of has to assume the new sort of like matriarch position where she's like taking care of her family now, but also like being able to process the emotions of her husband missing and like what that means for her and her family. And, I will say that there's quite a shift that happens between the first half and the second half of this film that I think is done pretty well for the most part. This first act of the film, and really it's a perfect first act. There's something so lively about the way that this joyous family is portrayed. It feels so authentic, but so stylish at the same time. Throughout this first act, we get sort of vignettes of these children's lives. The children's lives kind of exemplify that sort of joyousness to me. They're riding around in the car, listening to like samba rock. Obviously, these people are living in a dictatorship, and there's a lot of repression happening, but we see the sort of resilience and the joyousness that comes in spite of that, being with your family and like being able to celebrate with your family. It's such a joyous first act because it relies so much on that community building aspect where, we get to see the relationships between each of the siblings and between the parents and their children. There's quite a warmth to the first act of this film, but it never feels artificial. Everything feels very naturalistic, and it's a good reprieve from kind of the harrowing journey that we're about to go on. And as the disappearance sort of plays out and kind of builds until we finally see him get taken away, there's a sort of eeriness about it. There's still that sort of authentic love, that authentic joyousness, but there's something not quite right. And once that scene actually happens, we slowly start to see this family unravel, and we particularly start to see the emotional and mental state of Eunice Paiva unravel. And it's quite a harrowing watch, one that really takes its time and really doesn't try to throw anything too explosive in our face. There's a sort of processional quality to the way that this story is told. And I don't even know what I necessarily mean by that, but like it makes sense in my head. And the scene itself where Rubens Paiva is taken away is really disquieting because this is done with basically no pushback. And it's not a very forceful removal. They just kind of say, you have to come with us. And he just kind of says, okay, and he goes. And this is so terrifying because when you're living in these sort of conditions, any minute action could be a threat to your very being. even if it's not seemingly threatening on the surface, like there's something wrong. And we don't know why he's being taken, but he just kind of accepts it and he knows he has to go. And then we never see him again. The way the story's carried out is very patient, and I like that because it sort of lets us ruminate in that darkness. And it's quite harrowing. Not all of the film worked for me. I think the third act, I mean, obviously in the third act, we kind of see different points of the future for this family. And obviously, you know, I think the time jumps do serve to kind of give that story its full scope that it deserves. Yet at the same time, I think that there are lots of time jumps that happen and sort of vignettes of feelings that we hear from the children and the mother. And there are moments where you can kind of utilize the visual language and really look at the facial acting to sort of indicate where in their processing that these children and even Eunice Paiva are. But I think it could have done a little more with the visual language if we were going to do so many time jumps. But overall, I mean, this is an outstanding film, and I think that it deserves all the praise it's been getting, and hopefully we get to see it win some awards at the Academy Awards. But I think I'm going to leave it there for now. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.